Hey y'all, welcome again back to Beyond Borders with Chad. And today we are going to continue on a little bit with my medical tourism review. All right. So, this is kind of why I left the USA for surgery. People don't understand that. And the end of that statement is, and save tens of thousands of dollars, right? We're going to talk about medical tourism versus the US and Turkey, as well as Colombia, two places I've been to um, experiencing this. What if I told you that for the price of one dental crown or a minor surgery in the US, you could fly overseas and you could stay in a luxury hotel and be treated by top tier doctors and still come home with a little bit of money in your pocket? Would that be cool? That's not clickbait. That's my real experience. The US healthcare system is broken. It's been broken. It's insanely expensive. And today I'm sharing my experience getting treatment in Turkey and my friend Michelle's experience getting treatment in Colombia. And she lives in Costa Rica. So you'd think, well, why if she lives in Costa Rica, is she going to Colombia? Because there are places around the globe where you can just do better. And so why not go there and do that, right? We're breaking down the cost, quality, safety, and why medical tourism might be the smartest financial move you've ever considered. The problem with US healthcare costs: dental implants, $3,000 to $5,000 per tooth; hair transplants, $12,000 to $20,000; and routine surgeries, $30,000 to $50,000. And I don't really care, even if you have insurance, deductibles and co-pays, they add up fast. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about my experience. From the moment I landed in Turkey, I felt like a VIP. I was picked up by a black luxury Mercedes-Benz van, and then I was taken to the five-star hotel and treated at the clinic the next day. In the meantime, at the hotel, the people were just phenomenal, friendly, smiling, just whatever you needed, they were there for. The first clinic that I went to and my first experience was with dental work. And that was because I had very weak teeth that had been breaking for years. I'm all about authenticity, and I will tell you that when I was younger, I did suffer from bulimia for a period of time, and that will just destroy the integrity of your teeth. And so I'd been here in the States working at having a bunch of work done, and I just kept on going back to the clinic, and the dentist would just, every time it would be the next thing. First it was the cleaning, then it was we've got to pull this one, we've got to pull that one, we've got to pull this one. And I had already experienced in Costa Rica, I had had some dental work done. I had two bridges done while I was there, living there. And I think that was a cost of about $4,000. And I was impressed with that, to be frank with you. At the time, I thought, well, that's great. But I had initially spoken to them about having implants done when I was in Costa Rica. Well, the doctor ended up saying, oh, no, we're just, the implants are going to cost more, and we're gonna have to just do these bridges. So I just wanted this problem fixed in my mouth, and I just went along with having the bridges put in. Those bridges lasted, they were done wrong, and they lasted about 4 years. It was just too wide a gap from everything they'd ripped out to actually have them last much longer. Last about 4 or 5 years. And then I was back in the States, and I was having the work done here. And I was just so frustrated. It was every time I'd go in there, was yank another tooth, drill, put in another filling. And so they really dragged out this process that I wanted, and it made clear to them up front. I was like, oh, well, I want to let's just do the implants in that place and get them done. The numbers that they were coming up with were astronomical from the perspective of what I was getting or what I would have gotten. It would have been like, an area of like 3 or 4 teeth on both sides because I had destroyed the back of my mouth. And it was, we're already into over, tens of thousands of dollars for that. So all of a sudden, one day I was on Facebook, and I must have done a search or something trying to figure out what was going on with my mouth. And I started getting hits for dental clinics in Turkey and Istanbul. And I'm sure some Americans are out there, oh, those witch doctors, see, you just told us when you were in Costa Rica and did it, it didn't work, and so forth and so on. Let's be clear here. These doctors in reputable places, and it wasn't like I went to a non-reputable place in Costa Rica, it was just that dude was gonna get the easy way out. And but these doctors that I have seen are very reputable. The clinics are like futuristic. The doctors are internationally trained, many in the US or Europe, and the hospitals or the clinics are fully accredited. So I don't know what the difference of that and me seeing a doctor here would really be, right? So I get into the chair, and they're reviewing my mouth in person, as prior to having gone, I sent them all of these photos so that they could figure out and give me a good estimate of what the work was going to cost. Prior to getting there, we were looking just around $7,500. And they had told me everything they were going to do, but I will say there was a little bit of confusion with the language barrier that I have, because I don't speak Turkish, right? But I'm going to Turkey, so that's something that would be my responsibility. But they speak English just fine. But there was something that didn't just click exactly right. And that was that I thought I was, for the most part, even though they explained to me everything they'd be doing, which was more than I would have ever got here in the States, they didn't explain to me that they were going to be doing so much more, and that is why when I got there, the cost went up a little bit to about $8,000, and that covered everything that needed to be done in my mouth, or even just cosmetically was done in my mouth as well. $8,000. Now, what came with that $8,000? That was my flight from the United States to Istanbul, my hotel at the 5-star hotel, those transfers back and forth. They picked me up at the airport, brought me to the hotel. Every time I had a meeting, I was going in the Mercedes van to the hotel, or the E350 Mercedes, but always a very nice vehicle. And then I went to this, like I said, futuristic, plush dentist spa, where you would, while you are waiting, you're waiting in massaging chairs. They're asking you if you'd like the equivalent of a Starbucks coffee or your bottled water. And of course, they've got the books and the magazines like everybody else does as well. Now, had I this, as they called it, Hollywood smile, which they said they couldn't do exactly because of the way my mouth was designed by, I guess, God. They were able, while they were doing this, it's a little off from what their Hollywood smile would look like exactly, but it's because of the way that my mouth is designed, right? And I'm super happy with it. I had a space between my teeth my whole life, and I always thought, oh, I would love it if I could get braces or just got rid of the space or whatever, and it's gone now. There were multiple, the implants, they did like a bunch of root canals, and it was just crazy. But they did the first half, it came in two halves. The first half they did, and then I went home and they had to wait for these implants to kind of ground themselves in my mouth. And then I had to go back. It was 3 months later is what they usually have you do, but I was working and stuff. It would end up being 6 months later that I went back there and had them wrap everything up by putting the crowns on the places where they had done these implants. Now in the States, they were telling me it was kind of like a one by one process, and then you'll wait 6 months and then you'll come back. I mean, it was ridiculous. And I was like, I need to get this done now. In the States, to have all of this work that was done would have cost upwards of 50,000. Yes, I said 50, as in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, tens. I think that was 5 tens. Anyway, so if you look at that, $50,000 versus $8,000, and I got one airfare paid for, one round trip. When I went back, I had to pay for the second one, and I had to pay for my hotel the second time. But it's so cheap in Turkey, it was negligible for sure. That's a deal, if you ask me. And if you know me, you know that I love a deal. So I got curious about my hair, my head, which you can see is, not full. But I had the Mr. Hooper, and there was nothing at all up there. Nothing. And while I was there, I thought, well, I have to, on my second trip, I thought, well, I have to be here, and I'm going to be doing nothing all Saturday. So why don't I just check and see what it looks like to start the hair transplant process? And this is a process as well. I also met up with an attorney and another guy when I was sitting around having cocktails at the bar at the hotel, and they were telling me, oh yeah, you should be able to come down, because a lot of the pitches online will be at about $3,000. You'll get the hotel, you'll get the flight and the surgery, and then they want to upgrade you a little bit when you're, after you've done the surgery, they want to sell you the goop to put in there, and they want to do the stem cell treatment out of the gate. But I thought, if the pitch comes on with, we're gonna do your hair and we can do it, and they don't say stem cell, then I want them to do it without the stem cell and not charge me the extra $600 they want to charge me for the stem cell, right? So I got that done, and you can see how this is filling in. It was 5,000 grafts that they put in my head, and I did this on the day that I had off from the dental place, and that ended up being like $1,600. So I thought, yeah, that's something I've been wanting to work on as well. And when we went in, they were clear that the 5,000 grafts wasn't going to get it, and the most they were going to take out was 5,000 at any one meeting, and that I would need to go back certainly another time to get the full coverage on my head. And so I'm going to do that later this year. I'll dip back in and have them stick me for 8 hours again, laying there on the bed. And I'll have them there was a little break in the middle for lunch, but I'll have them do another 5,000 grafts, and that should get me fairly full. This here is about, I don't know, 9 months later in having this hair transplant. That $1,600 versus 12, 20, I think the lowest I've ever heard is 8, is another reason why I would do this cosmetic work overseas in Turkey. You get me? Now with Michelle's procedure, it was a little different. She was using her insurance company, I believe it's Blue Cross, had an agreement with the providers, and they opted. She was coming from Costa Rica, and so we went from Costa Rica to Colombia. Their agreement with the Colombian clinic and doctors is what made this happen. They flew me with her insurance company, free of charge, to Colombia from Costa Rica. We stayed at another 5-star hotel, and both flights were taken care of. We were there for 10 days. We were even given a daily stipend for walk-around money. We had the free breakfast in the morning, and then they paid a number of dollars for our meals later that day, lunch and or dinner. Not exactly clear on the name of her procedure, and she hasn't gotten back to me yet, but it was about tendons in her fingers where she was having mobility issues. And so there's some video of the doctor showing that procedure on his phone to us, and what it actually looked like when he goes in and does this. Another fully fluent, intelligent doctor that did the work on this as well. So when you're thinking about these costs, there's just no way that you can do the math and make it add up to make sense when, if the procedure costs 15 grand here and there it costs a third of that, and it's covered by insurance, and you get to go on a holiday. I don't know why anybody wouldn't take that choice, saving, $10,000 or more on any of these procedures. Medical tourism is not about cutting corners. Medical tourism is about cutting costs. Call it cutting the dollars. So what do? Because I'm just some dude on YouTube talking to you about something that you may have not ever considered in your life. And my best way to advise you is to do your research. vet the doctors that you are talking to out if you find yourself in this place. You want to have the surgeries done in either an accredited hospital or clinic, right? So you want to make sure if there is a problem, you can get the emergency treatment that you're going to need. Most of the things that people are going to be finding, though, aren't going to be at the absolute end of the spectrum where it's some serious stuff. Like some people have cancer treatment in these foreign countries. And some people have a lot of success with these cancer treatments, frankly. But you're going to want to, vet your doctor. You're going to want to do the research. Then read patient reviews. That's another thing that's going to tell you what's going on there. You're also going to want to work with specialists, right? The specialists are the specialists. Don't have somebody tell you they're going to, fix your liver in their bathtub. It's just kind of common sense stuff. So what Michelle had done was an arthroscopic procedure to repair a ligament and clean out the other damage. So the clinical indication of this, and I am no doctor, was that she had a history of a ligament repair in her hand, and that was for metacarpophalangeal discoloration with extensor tenosynoviectomy. So what all that means exactly, I don't know, but that's what she had done. They dug inside of her hand and scraped some stuff out, I guess, and got it put back together. But that's what she had done in Colombia for much less. If it was an insurance company that was paying to have me go with her to go to Colombia, it was significantly less than what it would have been in the States for sure, and even in Costa Rica. Listen, the world is smaller than you think. And quality health care doesn't have to bankrupt you. So, have you ever traveled for medical treatment? Done some medical tourism yourself? Are you thinking about it? Leave a comment, like, share, and subscribe. For more real world insights, feel free to even leave a question in the comment section, and I will answer. But I'm telling you, medical treatment outside of the United States is, in many cases, well worth it. Free travel, nice hotels, some time on the beach to recover. That's what I'm talking about. Anyway, please comment, ask questions, like, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next round on Beyond Borders with Chad.